Today, we're going to talk about a brand new frontier in AI. It's a huge shift, moving beyond just teaching AI to talk like us and into a whole new world, teaching it to understand the fundamental code of its own digital universe.
So just imagine for a second, what if an AI didn't need our words, our labels, or any of our human concepts? What if it could learn directly from the raw data that makes up, well, everything you're looking at right now? Every pixel, every sound wave, every single line of code. That's the big, powerful idea we're going to unpack in this explainer. All right, to really get why this is such a huge leap, we've got to start with where AI is right now. You know it, you've probably used it. We're living in the age of large language models, LLMs for short. And they are incredible architects of language. I mean, these models can write poetry, they can debug code, summarize really complicated articles. It's amazing. But here's the catch. They don't see the digital world as it truly is. They're seeing a translation, a version of reality that's been kind of pre-processed for them. It's like they're seeing everything through a human-centric filter. And that filter? It actually has a name: tokenization. This process is, believe it or not, both the greatest strength and the biggest weakness of current AI. It gives them a really powerful, but ultimately incomplete picture of the world. So what even is tokenization? Well, think of it like this. When an LLM reads a sentence, it doesn't see the whole thing at once. It chops it up into little pieces it recognizes, words, or maybe common parts of words. The quick brown fox becomes 4 separate tokens. Now, that's awesome for understanding language, but what happens when the data isn't language? I mean, how do you chop up a picture or a song into words? You can't really, not without losing something important in the translation.
And that right there is the core difference. Tokens are an abstraction. They're our human-friendly way of looking at data. But bytes are the ground truth. They are the fundamental, raw building blocks, the digital DNA of every single file, from a photo to a piece of software. It's the universal language of machines.
So this brings us to the really big breakthrough. What if an AI could just skip that whole tokenization step? What if it could learn to think directly in bytes? Well, that's exactly what a new model called BGPT was designed to do.
So, a byte model is a totally new class of AI. Because it operates at the byte level, it doesn't need a separate system for text, and another for images, and another for audio. Nope, it treats all data as what it actually is, just a long sequence of numbers. And this lets it learn the patterns and structures of any digital information, no matter what kind of file it is. Just look at this. You've got all these different file types, images, sound files, raw binary code, and they're all being fed into this one single BGPT model. The model doesn't care what they are. To it, it's all just one universal stream of information, one long sequence of bytes, and it learns directly from that. Pretty cool, right?
So how on earth does it actually learn? Well, the core idea is actually super elegant and simple. Instead of trying to predict the next word, BGPT takes a chunk of bytes, the researchers call it a patch, and it just learns to predict the very next patch in the sequence. By doing this millions and millions of times, it starts to develop this incredibly deep understanding of the fundamental rules of digital information.
Okay, so that's the theory. It sounds great, right? But does this whole byte-level thing actually work in the real world? The researchers put BGPT to the test on a whole range of tasks, and the results were, well, let's just say they were pretty surprising. Take a look at these numbers for a second. Whether it was looking at images, listening to speech, or analyzing news articles, BGPT did remarkably well. It was often right up there competing with models that were custom-built just for those specific tasks. This is the proof that a single, generalist model that only sees bytes can be incredibly versatile and super powerful. But honestly, these classification tasks, they weren't even the real goal here. They were just the warm-up act. The researchers wanted to push this model to do something much, much more profound. They didn't want it to just categorize data. They wanted it to understand and simulate the very processes that create the data in the first place.
And this number is just staggering, 99.99%. That was BGPT's accuracy when they asked it to simulate a simple computer processor. Okay, let that sink in. They showed it the CPU's current state, memory, registers, everything, just as a stream of bytes, and asked it to predict the exact state after the very next instruction. And it did it almost perfectly. It essentially learned the fundamental logic of computation just by observing the raw data. So the really crucial point is right here, in this quote from the paper. This isn't just some clever party trick.
The fact that an AI can achieve near-perfect simulation of computer hardware means it has actually learned the underlying rules of that system. This just blows the doors wide open for using these models as powerful simulators for all sorts of digital systems.
And that leads us to the final and maybe the most exciting part of this whole story. I mean, if BJPT can perfectly simulate a computer's brain, what does this new power mean for the future of science, technology, and even our own security?
The possibilities here are just massive. You could feed a Byte model all the genomic data we have to simulate how cells work, or all our weather data to build way more accurate climate models. For cybersecurity, it could maybe predict what a virus is going to do next before it even does it. It could even be used to reverse engineer black box software, or maybe even discover brand new, more efficient algorithms all on its own. Now, of course, we're still at the very beginning of this road. The paper is really clear that there are big challenges to overcome. We've got to make these models cheaper to run, we need to train them on even bigger and more diverse data sets, and we have to figure out how to scale them up to handle really complex stuff like high-resolution video. Those are the big next steps.
And that really brings us to our final thought for today. We started this journey with an AI that could master human language. We now have one that can flawlessly simulate a computer. So the question this leaves us with is, well, it's pretty profound. From the intricate dance of proteins inside our bodies to the complex dynamics of our global economy, any system that can be described by data could, in theory, now be simulated. We are just scratching the surface of what's possible.